future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed in these radio programs are those of the individual hosts and do not reflect the official policy or position of Universal Broadcasting Network.
You're listening to the Dr. Dee Show about neuropsychology and well-being. Get the knowledge you must have to live a powerful, positive life. The Dr. Dee Show. Here for you.
Welcome, listeners, to the Dr. Dee Show today. It is wonderful to have you with us. First and foremost, I would just like to mention my condolences to the families in France who are struggling with the most horrific attack today. Yet again, we are struck by terrorism, and innocent people who just wanted to have a great time are hurt. And we just so wish that the political atmosphere out there will make it possible for the world to focus on unity and growth rather than focusing on hate and violence. So just wanted to mention that my heart and my thoughts and my prayers are with the families of the victims and everyone else that's been affected by this horrific act today. With that in mind, I wanted to mention that our show is psychoeducational in essence. It's not meant to replace professional mental health advice or therapy. Some of the topics that I cover on this show are not appropriate for the younger population, hence your discretion is advised. We do focus on real and relevant life situations and injuries, many of those that involve the neurological system and the central nervous system, and injuries or conditions that affect the neuropsychological functioning of an individual. We are going to have an important interview today with a personal story and an advocate and a leader right now in the area of new and available spinal cord injury treatments, and we'll talk about the experience of the person and what they're going through and what the individual would like to see being done out there in the medical world that deals with spinal cord injury. I would like to mention just some interesting facts for us to know. The incidence, for example, of spinal cord injury, it is estimated that annual incidence, not including the ones who eventually die from the accident, is approximately 40 cases per million individuals in the population in the United States, or in an easier way to understand those numbers, about 12,500 new cases each year. That is a large number. We're talking about thousands, right, of individuals per year who end up having this type of injury and then consequently have a lifetime of having to manage that condition and seek treatment for it. The number of individuals currently in the United States that live with the condition, and we're going to call it SCI for sake of simplicity, is approximated to be about 200,076 thousands persons, with the range of 240,000 to 337,000 individuals at any given year. Those statistics are based on a report in August of 2014 from the spinal cord injury model system. And the age of individuals who get injured, and that's an important point that we'll talk about a little bit later, has increased from about 29 years during the 1970s to individuals who are about 14 years in more recent years. And that is a bigger gap, right? We're talking about, it used to be that younger people, much younger people, were injured. There are, of course, younger people who are injured, but statistically, the average age has increased quite significantly. Approximately 79% of spinal cord injuries occur among males. And some of the hypotheses behind it is what kind of activities an individual can be involved with that exposes them for higher risk of having a spinal cord injury. And a vast majority of those injuries are due to vehicle accidents. Okay, so when you think about cars, motorcycles, etc., all kinds of fast trucks, those ones are considered vehicle injuries. And when you think about which gender might be statistically more involved with those activities, it would be suggested that more males tend to be involved in those types of activities. But also about a third of the incidents occur because of falls. Okay, so falls can include accidental falls, could be, hopefully all falls are accidental, but we're talking about falls just from buildings or high places, but it could be also just an individual walking down the street and experiencing a fall. A certain percent, about 14%, is due to violence. About 9% is sports activities, and another 9% that belongs to all sort of other reasons. Notice that 9% for sports is a lot lower than what I would have estimated. So when we talk about concussions and brain injuries, we have a higher percent that has to do with activities of sports, but spinal cord injuries seem to be not as highly associated. It's about 1 out of 10 cases is associated with sports activities. What about race and ethnicity? Is there any difference or higher statistics for certain populations? Well, it is suggested that currently about 24%, so we're talking about roughly 1 out of 4 individuals who have a spinal cord injury occur among blacks, which is higher than the proportion of blacks in the general population. The general population is 12%. What are some of the hypotheses that could be behind it? If somebody is involved in, do we have higher statistics of black individuals involved in activities that put themselves at risk or at danger? That's possibly. Could be involved in more car accidents or vehicle accidents or driving late. By the way, many of those accidents do occur late at night towards the early hours of the morning. In fact, that is the time that you don't want to be on the roads, if possible. It has the highest rate of accidents, lethal accidents. And so that could be maybe a reason, and that would be an interesting area to investigate into. Why really is it that the general population that we've got of blacks is about 12%, but the injuries, the spinal cord injury percent that we see is literally double, 24%. But again, if an individual or type of population has a higher percent of individuals involved in risky activities, that potentially could be the reason. Vehicle crashes, like I said, is the leading cause of injuries. When we talk about acts of violence, we're talking about primarily gunshot wounds, and I did see some of those cases that can turn out with that with this eventual permanent injury. The length of day of hospitalization has declined to about half of what it used to be, or even less than that. Individuals were almost a month having to be hospitalized to be treated. Now it's down to about 11 days. So treatment, I believe, is more efficient. Care is more efficient, and etc. Neurological level and extension of those lesions that occur from that. You can have tetraplegia or an incomplete tetraplegia, and that is about 45%, roughly half of the cases. An incomplete paraplegia is about 21%, so we're talking about 1 out of 5 roughly. And a complete paraplegia is about also 20%, again 1 out of 5. And a complete tetraplegia is about 14%. Okay, so a little bit more than 1 out of 10. It is important to understand because any type of permanent damage that can occur from these types of injuries will directly, obviously, affect the life of the individuals and their ability to function. It's important to understand that about less than 1% of individuals who experience a complete can experience a complete neurological recovery by hospital discharge. Okay, so that is a very small percent, and that is very difficult statistics for individuals. So when somebody receives a diagnosis of a spinal cord injury, we want to understand that they have a major change that they have to go through in life based on that, and adjustment. And, the fight for them to be able to get better is a tremendous fight that they have to go through, both for them and the family. And services out there are increasing in quality, but we have still have a lot of work to do. And this is something we're going to discuss on our interview today. Some other interesting statistics. Actually, before I touch on a little bit more statistics, I want to touch on something that so many times is not addressed when we're treating individuals with neurological conditions, particularly until we're waiting for our interview to start soon. And I want to talk about the things we don't talk about so many times when we talk about permanent injuries. The state of mood and the emotional state of the individual, and the difficulty to process that some of those injuries are permanent and what their life would look like, increases the chance to develop depression, and many times severe depression for a certain amount of time that the individual will not talk about, will not share. In fact, physical disability and conditions such as chronic pain are highly associated with depression. And often the first approach to treat depression is many times a pharmacological approach. The individual will receive a type of medication, a psychotropic medication. However, medications can only go so far, as we talk many times on the show. Often their effect and or impact on the condition is limited. And what we know that truly helps is the combined efforts of increasing psychological and therapeutic talk therapy help for the patient, but not just for the patient, but also for the family members who themselves go through some level of trauma, some level of fatigue, and some level of confusion, some level of, especially at the beginning, sense of loss, or feeling lost, not knowing what to do in those situations and how to help best their loved one, and sometimes just feeling that fatigue and exhaustion that I was briefly mentioning. All of those need to be addressed and managed in the treatment of a loved one. With that in mind, I also want to make sure that we are addressing on this show the things that an individual can't do, the many things that an individual can still do and accomplish even while having this type of injury. All sorts of people may receive a type of injury, and they have certain types of dreams and hopes, and this is something that they want to still be able to address in their life, and they have the right to do so. And they should be focusing on following their dreams and their wills. This is something we want to make sure that an individual who's injured and has perhaps a permanent change in their ability to function do not lose the sense of hope, sense of direction, sense of becoming a productive person, sense of becoming a part of society and in a meaningful way. We are going to talk about that more today because there are things that can be done in that regard, and there's still big steps that can be achieved in this area. Now, when we talk about other types of statistics, this is an important point, and that's the issue of being rehospitalized. For some of us who didn't have family members who have experienced a type of one of their loved ones going through a type of injury or impact, sometimes we don't think about the fact that the care for somebody we love who has a major injury is a continuous, ongoing care that requires, not just our emotional efforts, but actual physical efforts, constant and countless of visits, hospital visits that take years. Okay, they take years, they take a lot of time, they take a lot of effort, and they also take a lot of financial resources from the families. They require many individuals to do another important thing, which is sometimes let go of some of the things they used to be involved with. So, for example, as a parent of an individual who had this type of injury, that parent might have to quit their job or reduce the hours that they're working. Sometimes the siblings have to make this type of change. It's something that we need to understand that it affects everyone. And for that in mind, the individual would have to go ahead and take those kind of steps to do so. So what I would like to do meanwhile is show you a video of Project Walk, which has to do with spinal cord injuries.
Project Walk is an activity-based paralysis recovery center. We work with a lot of clients with either neurological disorders, traumatic brain injury, multiple sclerosis, and also a spinal cord injury. We pretty much have them check their wheelchair at the door, and we do all kinds of activity-based modality exercises with them.
Project Walk Santa Monica is where I come as a spinal cord injury recovery facility. I come here, they get me out of the chair, they get me moving, and man, it feels good.
When Keith comes in, our first hour that we work on is called active nervous system recruitment. I put him through different movements, and through those movements, I am an extension of his central nervous system. I'm asking him to do a certain exercise or a certain movement, and he has to think about it. So you're getting the electrical signals from the brain down to the lower extremities. We're teaching the central nervous system in the body to start talking to itself again.
The Total Gym is a weight-bearing exercise, and they're getting me to do what's called a squat. I'm bending my knees simultaneously. I'm stretching out as if I were walking. When they strapped my arms to the machine, I was able to pull back and get into my back muscles. We do the FES, bike functional electrical stimulation. They put pads on my muscles and they fire in a strategic order to make my legs bicycle. It stretches the muscles out, strengthens them, and it gets your blood going through your legs and just makes you feel good. This is where I fight. These are my battlegrounds. This is where I come and I put in work. Project Walk is by far the most exceptional spinal cord injury recovery facility out there. This is where I need to be to walk. This is where I need to be to get better. This place is awesome, and I'd like to invite the world to the beautiful city of Los Angeles. Come check us out.
Thank you so much. So I want to welcome to the show Mr. Keith Smith. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Dr. D. It's a pleasure to be on the show, and thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to have you, and it was great to see the hard work that you're doing. And what I want to do is actually have you tell your story to start with, because that's where it all begins.
Okay, in 2009, I had a motorcycle. I was 23, and to make a long story short, I crashed my motorcycle. I wasn't thinking like I should have been. I was up late, and I woke up in the hospital 3 days later, and I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. I had a trachea. I had a tube coming out of my neck so I could breathe. They were breathing for me at the machine for a while. They said I was done, and my mom was too upset to sign the papers, so they couldn't harvest. They couldn't take my organs. They were ready to take my organs, and my mom was too upset. So fortunately, I'm alive, and unfortunately, I have a C5 spinal cord injury, and I'm paralyzed from the shoulders down. Life is tough. I was listening along there, and I agree with a lot of those things that I just heard. Life is what we make it, and my life severely changed. My family's life did too. My 3 sons. I got Joshua, who was 6 at the time, and my son Jacob was 4, and my son Ethan, who was 8 months. And life was tough. I broke my neck. Everything changed. I was pretty much the sole provider for my family, and things got really tough. But my family is awesome. My mom moved in with me. My sister, she moved in with me, and my sister lived with me for 2 years. My younger brother, he didn't live with me, but he would come over all the time and help me with everything. So my family played a huge part in me just being as well as I am today. I see a lot of people in wheelchairs in my community that aren't having as good of a time as myself, because life is tough, definitely. But I'm still a happy guy. I got plenty of things to be happy about, and my family, being one of them, because they're all here and they all love me, and that's one thing that you learn when you break your neck and you become paralyzed. You learn how close your family is and how much people love and care about you, and it's awesome. So that's a great part that I got out of this. I got love for my family, and I love my family to death. My son Joshua's 13 now, Jacob's 11, and Ethan's 8. And man, growing up, they got big. So I got robbed from a lot of things. So the one thing I did get to keep was being a dad, and I watched my kids grow up, and I love them. They're my everything. So I still appreciate life, and my life is not miserable. It's definitely tough, but we've all become a strong family unit, and we work together and we figure things out. And because of it, I feel like my family has bonded in a whole new way that we couldn't have. We wouldn't have bonded the way we bonded now, and we're tough. So having a spinal cord injury definitely sucks, but I'm happy.
Keith, you are absolutely incredible. You are a miracle. And just everything you said right now is so incredible. It's so real. And you sort of summarized everything that I was trying to convey with those statistics. You're telling the story. And, if you could be here, I'd be saluting you, okay? It's because you are a type of a soldier. You're a soldier for people, showing for what people are really going through when this happens to them, and the great impact. And yet, that despite it all, and these types of this incredible challenge that you received, that first of all, the blessing from God that you were not considered dead, that you survived, and that you woke up, and that you went back into being able to communicate, and that you earned back being a parent. But you touched on reality, which is above and beyond. Is you were the main provider. You had 3 children to take care of. This complete and utter shock that you know, at least for some time, you're not able to do that for your family. That you need to be taken care of by other people. And how do we adjust to something like that? All of those things that you're talking about are significant. And how important family is, how your mother had to sacrifice her own private life and time. Your sister had to do the same. Everybody had to jump in to make things happen. And it's an incredible thing. And that's where the beyond statistics and beyond research, which we appreciate because it takes things forward. We could never lose touch of the real story, of the personal experience, because at the end of the day, that's what should be leading researchers and scientists in the pursuit of knowledge. Okay,
They are. Well, we're doing a lot. I'm talking to researchers at UCLA right now. I'm talking to researchers from Rancho Los Amigos, CSU. I'm working with a great SCI recovery facility, Project Walk, in Los Angeles. We're doing things over there that I don't think anybody knows even possible. But they get me to stand up. They get me to do a lot of things that I haven't been able to do in years, and it's a great facility. We got a SCI group over there. I'd like to announce to the world that we're going to have it's at 605 Colorado Avenue, the second Friday of each month. Anybody who has any form of paralysis can come there, and we'll be able to guide them and help them with resources and give them the tips and the things they need to know that aren't available to people, because I've had to learn so much stuff. My family has had to learn so many things and so many approaches to things that people just don't understand. And we're there to share them with the world. And anybody who needs help needs to come check us out. It's a great place.
Wonderful. And, we're going to post also your website just now. We can go ahead and do that. Here we go. projectwalkfoundation.org. I think it's very important to have those resources. And, I want to go back a little bit more into the experience and also into what's available out there for individuals.
I'm sorry, Dr. D. I don't mean to interrupt you. It's projectwalk.com, but thank you. I'm sorry.
.com? Oh, okay. It's listed online as .org. So it's whoever is doing that. That's okay. No problem. So definitely, I'm sure you're going to be fixing it soon on your end. We're fixing it right now. So again, it's projectwalkfoundation.com. Okay.
Just projectwalk.com. Great place. People need to check that out.
You're only allowed to interrupt me once, by the way. I'm just kidding with you. So Keith, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and explore a little bit just more the topic. A lot of the work that I do professionally is with traumatic brain injury, and I have patients with history of severe traumatic brain injury who literally have shown miracles in the way that they can improve, going from coma, going from a wheelchair to being able to walk, incredible things over time that can be accomplished. So I want to go back and touch a little bit about your process of how far have you come along from the time of the injury to today in terms of motor functioning.
Yes, ma'am. I to be honest, I was diagnosed with severe brain trauma myself. Mm-hmm. They showed my mom a picture of my brain just covered in blood. There was one little dot. They said if I woke up, I was going to be a vegetable. I wouldn't remember my children. When I woke up, I couldn't talk, and I had a feeding tube. I don't have none of that anymore. I feel great. To be honest, I'm 31 now, and I still feel like I'm 23 when I broke my neck, because I work out, I eat right, I do all the things that need to be taken. There's just steps in everybody's life, whether you're in a wheelchair or not. And you take those proper steps. I don't eat my McDonald's all the time. I try to get my kids. I don't let my kids eat that either. But I watch what I eat. I make sure I get the proper hydration. Make sure I get the proper exercise, sleep, and I'm good. I'm a pretty healthy guy. I feel great. I'm ready to take on the world. And I wish I was walking. If I was walking, it'd be great. I feel good. They're just steps you need to take. And from the time that I was diagnosed with severe brain trauma, I was in a coma for 3 days. I woke up. I remember very little from the accident itself. I remember very little the first month when I woke up from the coma. I was in Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital there for another 3 months, and I remember that a little bit. I remember my buddy Rick over there in the rehab. He's a cool guy. I went home. We've learned a lot. As far as my body and getting stuff back, I've got a lot of upper body movement back. I feel like I can breathe a lot better now. I know I'm only breathing my diaphragm, but I feel that there's stuff there. My thumbs, they tingle all the time, and when I move them around, I can feel that. I can feel pressure spots in my body. I wouldn't know if you were touching me with an ice cube or a piece of coal, but I would know if you were touching me. I remember hearing something about being depressed. When I came home, I was severely depressed because I was taking all the prescriptions and all the stuff the doctors gave me, and then I just didn't want to do it no more, and I just stopped taking all those pills. And man, the sky is blue again. I can taste food again. I'm happy again. I appreciate things again. I'm not drone anymore. It feels great. It's just medications, man. Kick them, and man, what a difference. I feel good because I gave up all those medications.
And there are times and places where medication temporarily can be helpful, and there's also times where medications can help in the long run for some certain conditions where, like schizophrenia and other ones where without medication the person would be in a really bad situation.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, don't apologize. I'm having this discussion with you just for our listeners, to know that there are times that it helps, but there are many times, and I actually agree with you that the preferred approach, if possible, to work on your psychology without medications and being able to achieve a state of happiness and progress and health without medications, it is more preferable. And it's in the long run what we would like to see, what all good clinicians would like to see. So your story is very inspiring. Now, I want to touch on a couple of the things that you said. So just to educate our listeners, you mentioned the inability to remember things that occurred before the accident, and that's something we called retrograde amnesia. So the word amnesia is forgetting or loss of ability to remember. And retrograde amnesia happens many times after a brain injury, specifically the more severe injuries, and that's inability to remember what happened before. There is something called anterograde amnesia, which we could see short term in also lower level injuries, which is the inability to create new memories after the event. Either way, both of those conditions can occur, and sometimes they are permanent and sometimes they are temporary. What's important to understand is that you, in a nutshell, you've mentioned many things that have to be adjusted and worked on. You've mentioned the mood, the state of mood, adjustment to medications and being drowsy, waking up and not knowing what's going on, the physical pain. There's just so many things that the person is going through in terms of adjustment. And the recommendation would be for family members and loved ones to just provide as much help and support in a very non-judgmental and gradual way. These things take time, gradual way, until the person.
I have no pain.
What
I'm
is
sorry,
it?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't need to take the medication because I'm not in no pain. I just can't feel nothing below my nipples, and I'm good. I'm not in no pain. I can't feel my body. I can't feel that stuff. So I can, like I said, I can feel the pressure, but that's it. I'm not in no pain.
Good, and that's something. And if the person is not in pain, in some ways it is good. In some ways, when you start feeling pain, it might be that those nerves are waking up, and that there's regeneration of neurons. And when I watch your video doing the exercises, which is something that I have patients who attend facilities, great facilities that work on that, it teaches something that regeneration of cells in the body and waking up neuronal activity and communication between the central nervous system and the brain is possible and is very important.
Absolutely, and that's what we work on at Project Walk. We work on something called active nervous system improvement, and what we're doing there is there's a therapist who's working with our extremities, and they're an extension of our nervous system. So they're moving my leg, and I'm thinking about moving my leg, and they're physically doing it. And I've got using the FES machine that we have at Project Walk. I've gotten so much muscle return in my quads and my butt, and as my muscles return from atrophy, I feel like I'm able to get into them more. And I to be honest, I live in Santa Maria, and I travel to Santa Monica for Project Walk. I don't get to go as much as I'd like to go, but I'm there enough to get the muscle return. If I was there a little bit more, I know I'd be a lot further along, but gradually I'm getting there. And as they're doing this active nervous system recruitment, I can get into my legs sometimes. I can feel that stretch. I can feel that push, and it's working. I haven't been there that long. I've been going for about 2 months now, but I can see the progress that's already taken place, and my body's feeling healthy and transforming. I'm feeling a lot better, and so I know that the nervous system is definitely capable of regrouping. Unfortunately, I haven't been hitting it hard like this ever yet, except for the last 2 months. And man, what a difference I'm feeling already. It's a difference between night and day. Anybody who is in a wheelchair definitely needs to come seek out Project Walk. Come move your body around. You move your body around, you feel great. And when you feel good, you're not as depressed. When your body's not stretched out and I don't go, I don't feel good. And when I don't feel good, I'm just not a happy guy. But when I get to move my body around, stretch out, wow, it makes me happy, and my family feels that too.
Absolutely.
So it's
and movement, exercise and movement encourages the production of endorphins in the brain and actually encourages the production of neurons and regeneration of connections and neurons. And that is one of the reasons why individuals are happier when they move and when they exercise. It really does directly affect the way we feel. And in the world of severe injuries, I feel that world is one of the places you find hope and faith and truth and miracles and God a lot more than any other areas of treatment that I find, because those are the things that really move you forward. It's that hope, it's that faith, it's the fighting. Those are the aspects, the human aspects, that when they kick in, great things happen.
I go a garden. I like to look at my garden. I'm looking at the garden, it just makes me feel good to watch them grow. It's therapeutic.
It is. Actually, there's research that was done about being outdoors and having a garden, by the way, and taking care of flowers and the garden and the earth. And one of the reasons that is hypothesized is the oxygen also that you receive from that. But also, believe it or not, studies show that when our brain looks at greenery, it has an amazing soothing and calming effect on our nervous system. So, yeah, so what you're mentioning makes sense also from a scientific place. Something that I want to touch on that you discussed that's so important. You talked about you're doing everything right that you've been recommended to make sure you're getting better. You talked about not just exercise, but eating healthy and not isolating yourself and keeping yourself social and active. I can't begin to say, I can't begin to say how important everything that you're saying is in that regard. In fact, most mental health conditions and neurological conditions significantly improve when we change our eating habits and when we exercise regularly. It's amazing that, we look at a lot of different solutions out there in therapies, and millions of dollars are invested in the area of research of all types of techniques and therapies. And eventually, and many of them are wonderful, but over and over again, we see that excellent eating habits and exercise do the world of difference in terms of how a person feels. And
Absolutely.
and it's important. Food is fuel. Food is fuel.
Yes, ma'am. And the fuel you put in your body, it definitely how you feel is what you put in. When I eat garbage, I feel like garbage. When I eat healthy, I feel healthy. And I make sure you drink a lot of fluids too. It's really important. I drink pretty close to a gallon a day, so
Yeah,
and if I don't, I feel it.
and you talked about counting. I can hear from your voice counting the blessings in life. I can hear that. I
Yes,
can.
ma'am. I have quite a few blessings. Just being here is one. I still got a chance. As long as I'm breathing, I'm gonna fight, and that's what we're doing. That's why I'm in this fight for paralysis. I'm talking to researchers at UCLA right now, and at UCLA is doing something called epidural stimulation, which is where they're shocking the spinal cord at a low spot in your lumbar region, and somehow, some way, it's bringing back people's sensory and motor functions. And I got nobody walking yet, but they're close, and I'm gonna go be a part of that. That's much of the books anyway.
Wonderful. And sometimes that's what happens in research. We try this, we try that, and then one thing works. And once it works, we can get so many people to benefit from that. So we cannot give up. We should never give up. And science does prove and show that when wonderful innovations occur, it's worth all the hard effort that everybody put into it. I want to talk about the sense of waking up the system. Our brain and body do work that way, where the connection between our brain and our central nervous system and our extremities is very important. I will tell you that I had a situation where an epidural was given to me to the wrong place, which caused numbness in half of my body, and there was no solution given to me to be able to get help to that besides being told that I should go on some medications.
I got a stimulator in right now.
I-
I went and got one put in at UCLA, and it's a pain stimulator, and it goes on the posterior part of the spinal cord, which is your sensory nerves. And what it does is it stimulates it, so it blocks out the pain, signal that's going up to the brain. And ever since I turned that thing on, man, it felt real good too. And
Sure,
anybody can go and have that done.
And now there's all sorts of types of treatments that some of them are more temporary and some of them are more long term. But going back to the conversation of the numbness, for my situation, which was relatively mild, I was able to reverse the effect of the numbness by doing consistent and targeted Tai Chi exercises every day, multiple times a day. And I was able to return back to full functioning and feeling on that side of the body. Now, it is possible. It doesn't say that every individual is able to have the same outcome. But what it does mean, not just this story, but studies that we know and show that the body does have the ability to wake up and remember that those connections do exist, that they need to be utilized. And many times there are many situations where movement can be regenerated. So we definitely cannot lose hope in that regard. What I want to mention also is just for our listeners, our central nervous system is controlling much of the connection or the communication between the brain and our extremities and various functions that our extremities do. With time, some of what's very important is that early on stimulation and consistent stimulation. What's also important to understand is that certain activities can increase the chance. vehicle accidents, not always something we can prevent. Falls are not something that we can always prevent. But, just to keep in mind, occasionally, every once in a while, I will face a story where there was some level of decision making that wasn't the best decision making that led the person to be in a dangerous situation. And when we look at statistics, as I mentioned before, almost 80%, virtually 80% of the injured individuals are males. And why am I
Yes,
mentioning
absolutely.
that is because males can have a higher rate of involvement in risky activities.
There's no way to prevent it, though. We guys got to figure out how to fix it, and that's what all these guys are working on. I'm talking to researchers at Stanford who are working on stem cells, and my boy Roman Reed's over there. He's taking care of that. He's the CEO of that. I'm talking to Charles Liu, who's the head of neurology from CSU. I talked to him at Rancho Los Amigos. I talked to Amanda Turner from the Reggie Eggerton lab at UCLA, and Dimitri Sainko, the researcher there, and we're working on this epidural stimulation stuff.
Wonderful.
And it's going to happen.
It will be, and I know that the solution will be there. Keith, thank you so much for being with us on the show. I wish you much success, and to all the individuals who work very hard with you to get not only awareness, but services to individuals who need it. We're going to show again your information. If anybody wants to reach out to you or to your team, what should they do?
They can come to Facebook. I'm on Facebook. It's Keith P. Smith, Project Walk Ambassador. Come see us. We're doing a lot over here, and you'll be pleased that you did. I can promise you that. I certainly am.
Wonderful. Keith, thank you so much for sharing your story, and God bless you and your family, and only to see good. And
thank you so much, Dr. D.
And thank you so much for being with us.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So we had another great interview on a topic to target, so much to cover. With that in mind, again, you know where to find out some information. If you need to reach out to me for questions or concerns, contact at drdgaines.com, contact@drdgaines.com. You've got it posted right now on our show. And remember that if there's a particular topic that you would like to hear an expert talking about, you can send that to me and we can cover that as well. With that in mind, our show is growing. You can find us on iHeart, iTunes, Stitcher, etc. We would love to hear feedback from you. And you can find us on Facebook and like us at the Dr. Dee Show on Facebook. And with that in mind, I wish all of you a wonderful, healthy, spiritually and physically healthy existence, and be well.
You're listening to the Dr. Dee Show about neuropsychology and well-being. Get the knowledge you must have to live a powerful, positive life. The Dr. Dee Show. Here for you.